Bedrosian throws to Sandberg, and the pitch is grounded to second base. Thompson has it, throws to first. It's over. 27 years of waiting have come to an end. The Giants have won the pennant.
All right, Brad, we are back. Ready to talk some Giants baseball.
Yeah.
Not the best week for us to come out of, though. You know, one of the tricks of the trade here, I'll give away a secret. I think we've talked about this before. MLB's app, they do the little recaps, like the 3-minute video recaps.
Uh-huh.
And so I watched bits and pieces of, out of the 6 games, I watched bits and pieces of like 4 of them, but there were 2 games that I literally had no idea what, at least the way that it looked on TV.
Yeah.
And so you go to MLB, they do the nice like 3 to 4 minute video recap, and you basically see a lot of the scoring. And so as I'm watching it, I'm like, okay, that the Logan Webb game, we probably should have won that game. We would have been 3-0 to start. Then the Padres series wouldn't have hurt us badly. Then there's the craziness of the first 2 Padres games. They were kind of playing close, and then the defense lets them down a little bit. And then obviously the last Padres game was they looked like the bad news Bears out there for most of it. But I think there are. I was all ready to come in here with like, negativity. The team looked really bad. I'm actually going to turn it around a little bit because I think there are some positives coming out of what I saw. So we're going to talk about the week. We'll talk about the upcoming week because they have a big series against the Mets. It's a measuring stick series.
Yeah.
But, so was the Padres series, was a measuring stick series.
Yeah, this whole the whole season is a measuring stick. I mean, you win 107 games, and then you come out the next season, and if you don't win a series like you do, and you just go belly up against the Padres, everybody's going to look at that and go, what kind of team is this? This team is garbage now. I mean, you're not going to win 108 games this year.
Yeah.
You're probably not even going to win 100 games this year. 107 was tough to do.
I mean,
fluke.
We're sort of like shooting for the 88-ish range, right? Like it's kind of the target.
Yeah. I mean, and when you look at it too, I saw a lot yesterday. Should the Giants just start selling?
Oh God.
Are they out of playoff contention? It's like, no, they're not. They're in the slot for the second wild card. Remember, there are 3 wild cards
there's 3
this year. I think they even have a 2 or 3 game lead on the third wild card. That combined with the fact that it's May, it's not even June yet.
Yeah.
And you are not going to sell until a week or 2 before the trade deadline when you really start to think about it. But I mean, we're so far from that right now.
Yeah. But also I want to talk about some of the transactions that have happened. Like if you are not paying attention to your transactions list here with fire sales 80 here, it's tremendous how many moves that they make a week. And so we'll look at that. We'll look at the Juan Soto situation. Nice, fun rumor that there's probably not a ton to it at this point, but good player to think about. As if his situation with Washington changes to what it currently is, and so that'll do it. And then we'll also talk about what we're drinking today. But let's start with the news of the day because. I don't know, an hour ago, maybe the Giants put Austin Slater on the 10-day left wrist inflammation. Do you know how he hurt it?
I don't know. But knowing him, it was probably some sort of dive. I mean, the guy's flying all over the outfield. Yeah. I didn't see him come out. I didn't see him wince on any of the catches that he made, any of the swings that he took.
Mm-hmm.
It could have just been something that was very minor at the time. You know how that goes. Especially us old guys really know that. You do something and then either that night or the next day or 5 days later, you're like, did I do something? Because I'm hurting today. Younger guys like that. I'm sure he probably knew when it happened and then kind of inflamed up a little bit later. But I want to ask the Giants to please on Mondays when we're recording, try to do this like 3 hours before we go on the air, because the scramble at the last second to quickly look guys up. I mean, we knew we traded for Stuart Fairchild.
Yes.
It was part of the 5 trades that went on with the Mariners over the past month. But
Stewie.
It's Stewie, but to sit there and scramble like an hour. Oh, we got the show ready, and now we got to quickly find more stuff on Fairchild. So please just do it at like noon. Give us some time.
Well, see, they got to do it sort of at the last minute so that the team that they're playing against can't, they also can't do the research like us. They're like, oh gosh, what does Fairchild hit? Can he hit a curveball?
So did you just say that Stuart Fairchild is hitting 2 home runs against the Mets tonight?
That would be great. I'm in.
I'll take that.
I'll take it. So that happened. Hopefully Slater is only going to be out the 10 days. Wrist things can be tricky. I mean, I hurt my wrist once, and I was only playing, weekend Warrior baseball. But you're playing friggin' doubleheaders every weekend.
Yeah, every Sunday, 2 games,
killing your body. And I remember I probably had tweaked my wrist on a check swing, but not that I have access to physical therapy and all that stuff, but that thing just kind of hung with me for the whole year. So it wasn't an easy thing to shake.
I think
Brandon
last year I played, I tweaked everything. So that's when I knew I'm too old for this crap.
Brandon Belt also went on the 10-day with some right knee inflammation. I think he had a cortisone shot in the knee. Like, we had been watching him going like, Stu, he already doesn't run fast, and he is not running well on top of not running fast. What's going on here? And the thing that you kind of worry about is, remember when he was trying to score last year in the game against the Angels, where he hurt his, is that a hammy, or I can't remember if it was a hammy or a knee, but it was just literally just him trying to run fast, and then he hurt himself.
As one does when you are Brandon Belt.
Kevin Padlow comes back up to replace Belt on the roster, and Kurt Casale went on the 7-day concussion list. So Mike, is it Papierski?
Yeah, Papierski.
So
really dangerously close to Pierzynski.
Oh, I didn't even think about that. And so he's up, which means that he and Bart are the only 2 catchers, and Joey Bart on Friday was the unfortunate. He wasn't playing, and then Casale got hurt, and I think it was in the last Rockies game, or was it that? I think it was that Padres game that Friday night. I think he got dinged, and so Joey Bart off the bench has to come in, and of course, 2 at-bats, 2 strikeouts, runners on base. I think it's in the same inning. It may have been in the same inning where he struck out twice in the same inning. So, unfortunate for Bart.
What do we do with him? What do we do with Joey Bart at this point?
Even with the horrendous at-bats and strikeouts and not being able to put the ball in play, he's still like a very average hitting catcher in baseball right now.
Yeah, exactly. And that's the whole reason you can't do anything with him. And you don't necessarily want to, because like I've heard too, you definitely want to leave him up in the majors. In the minor leagues, he's not going to learn anything else. I mean, taking a look at the team here, he is right in between OPS on the season, right in between Dubon and Estrada. And we're praising Estrada.
Mm-hmm.
Everybody's praising Estrada right now. And his OPS, Bart's OPS, is right in between Dubon and Estrada. And Crawford is below that. Duggar was below that. I mean, taking a look at everybody, Longoria is way below that. But of course, Longoria hasn't been playing for very long since he came back from the injury. But taking a look at Joey Bart's numbers just really fast. 74 at bats. 41 strikeouts. That is,
it's really amazing, because he's hitting 162. Yet his on base and his slugging percentage better than Brandon Crawford.
Yeah.
How ridiculous is that? And
Yeah.
Brandon Crawford has way more plate appearances. So this is
Yes.
not a fair comparison.
Yeah.
But he also has 30 strikeouts.
Yeah, exactly. But see, the thing is, Brandon Crawford has the track record,
Mhm.
and everybody goes, well, Brandon Crawford's going to turn it around, which is
Yeah.
true.
Yeah.
That's probably going to happen. We haven't seen really anything from Bart yet. We've seen a couple of flashes, but I think what everybody wants to see is a mini streak, even just a mini streak of 5 or 6 games.
For his own mental health, I want to see that.
Exactly. 5 or 6 games, he hits 400, 410, 420, just for 5 or 6 games. And then he can go back to striking out and doing everything else he's doing.
Yeah.
But as long as the defense is still there and he doesn't mentally take those at bats out to the field with him, he's still calling great games. I think he had an error yesterday, but everybody had an error yesterday in that awful, awful game against the Padres. What was the final score? 10-1, 10-2?
10-1, I think. Yeah.
10-1. Yeah. I mean, it was horrendous. It was just one of those games where it's like, get it all out in that single game right there. Come back against the Mets, play a good series, win 2 out of 3, sweep them, do whatever you got to do. But poor Joey Bart, man. Whenever something happens and something bad happens to Joey Bart, I always text our little chat group and I say, poor Joseph.
He's like our child.
He is, man. I feel bad for him because he's in the shoes of Buster Posey. He's taking
Mhm.
place. He is the starting catcher. Although I don't know how much longer he's the starting catcher. Is Kurt Casale?
Casale is outplaying him offensively by a wide margin.
Yeah, exactly. And to the point where Papierski is now up, and now we have we have 3 catchers on the roster.
You want to know what Papierski's OPS plus is?
Oh, give it to me.
-100.
Ooh.
3 at-bats, 3 strikeouts.
Yeah, there you go. Don't go knocking Joey Bart. You want to look at some awful stats. 0 for 3 with 3 Ks. That is not going to get you more than $1.50 in the bigs.
All right, so a couple of more things. So Lamont Wade Jr. had to go on the 10-day. He has left knee inflammation. What's up with these knees, man?
Yeah.
And so Luis Gonzalez is back up, which we are thankful for because then he can be the mop-up man and we don't have to waste innings from some of the pitching staff. But Luis Gonzalez comes up and he is the team leader in batting average by a wide margin. Yaz is sneaking up on him, though. Yaz has climbed all the way back up to 300 with a 390 OBP. So awesome to see for Yaz. He's not nearly striking out as much as he was last year. And so that is going to be one of the things that I point out that is actually going well. So Mike Yastrzemski, he had a really good weekend, or I would say the good 2 series. He won a game for the Giants in Colorado. The next game that they lost, I think he had like another 2 or 3 hits. And he's 14 walks and 19 strikeouts, and that is tremendous for him because it's felt like last year that there was a hole in his bat, and it was just frustrating to see him after watching him in the bubble season, to see how well he played. And then maybe we had talked about it. It's like, oh yeah, now you are a threat, and now they're going to find ways to get you out. And so he had to deal with that last year. And so it looks like they've made some strides. He's, with the 75 coaches that they have, and he's playing really well. So kudos to Baby Yaz, or the Yazmanian Devil, the 2 nicknames that I think we're the only ones who call him that.
I think so.
But
it's going to catch
great to
on.
see. Yeah, I think so. After like 5 years, it'll catch on.
Yeah. Well, here's the funny thing too, is you look at the Yazmanian Devil's numbers. See, I'm going to just keep using it because if I keep using it, it's going to catch on. If you look at his number and you look at Austin Slater's numbers, who Slater just went on the IL with the wrist inflammation, Austin Slater is a pretty another decent loss for the Giants lineup, because Slater, 15 walks, 21 strikeouts.
Yep.
So again, pretty close there. Couple of stolen bases, 388 on base percentage, 779 OPS. The Giants are just hurting right now, but they're still scoring runs, and that's the thing. And the pitching staff is kind of, I wouldn't say the issue right now, because our friend of the show, Jeff Young, put up some fantastic numbers earlier. He tweeted out Alex Cobb's numbers, and he said, Alex Cobb might be a microcosm of how the Giants pitching staff has performed this far. And he posted his ERA of 5.61, but his FIP of 2.67. Yep. So, I mean, that's a huge discrepancy. So I thought, well, let me go to Fangraphs, one of our favorite sites, and let me start looking at everybody's ERA and FIP. We look at Rodon, of course, I mean, his are just ridiculously low on both ends, 3.43 ERA and 2.11 FIP. Then you look at Logan Webb, and he's a little more even, 3.54 ERA, 3.10 FIP. Then you look at Cobb, and you've got that 5.61, the 2.67.
You didn't give up like 7 runs in one of those Colorado games.
Yeah, it was that first inning. And for those people who aren't familiar with FIP, just throw it out there real quick. It's kind of the ERA that takes out
the variables.
Batted balls in play.
Yeah.
So anything that's hit into play that's not a home run is taken out of the equation. So it's strikeouts, unintentional walks, hit by pitches, and home runs, because those are the 4 things that really a pitcher can control. So that's what FIP is. So it's kind of a little bit more true. Then you look at Jacob Junis. He's got a 2.70 ERA and a 3.62 FIP. So that kind of tells you he started out hot. I think he had 10 innings of giving up no runs. And then things have started to kind of go backwards for him. And that's where the DeSclafani injury is starting to kind of come into play as well, because now we're starting to see pitching injuries are starting to kind of catch up with the Giants. It's not so much hitting injuries, because again, they're still second in the National League in runs scored per game. They're scoring those runs. They're just not holding the opposition down like they used to, and like they were predicted to do going into the season.
Now, to understand FIP, you also have to understand the BABIP, which is sort of a luck thing with hitters, batting averages on balls in play, and that there's some luck involved in that number, right? If somebody is hitting below, who's hitting kind of low, or like a good hitter and his BABIP is low, then you're like, oh, like he's just unlucky this year in some instances.
Yeah.
And if it's high, then you're like, oh wow, he's getting, he's getting some by that sometimes would get caught. And when you look at FIP, the 2 things that I question are, okay, how much of this is just being unlucky with the BABIP, and how much of this is crappy defense? Now, I'm only going to pick on him here because I'm going to praise him in a second. But when you have Darren Ruf in left field, and San Diego hits a ball down the line and it bounces off the wall, and by the time Ruf gets to it, and then he winds up the throw, and then the throw is offline, like that kind of stuff, when you're a pitcher, it is super frustrating, but you kind of have to be able to work through that stuff. And then when Manny Machado hits a little flare out in the left field and he misses it on a dive and it gets by him and Manny Machado gets second, and then you see that the scoring is a double instead of an error and a single, you're just like, come on, dude. But that's what, the Giants have built their lineups based around, getting guys who have advantages, righty-lefty and lefty-righty advantages in the lineup, and who can get on base. And we're going to talk about how well Darren Ruff's getting on base right now. But they also sacrifice defense. That's why they pay for a Tommy La Stella. They pay for the offense, and then they just sort of sacrifice the defense a little bit. And with a Tommy La Stella on the team, maybe you cannot DH Ruff as much as you may if Tommy La Stella is not on this team. So I say all that to then say one of the other things that is great about this last week is Darren Ruf. A lot of those balls that he was scalding and they weren't falling, he just decided, well, I have to hit them over the fence, and then no one will catch them. And he did
brilliant strategy.
And he did that it was the first Padres game, I think, Friday night. And so his average is climbing up. He's at 238 right now, But the thing that really stands out when you look at his numbers is the 25 walks. His on-base percentage is climbed all the way up to 367. And this is a dude who it felt like couldn't get on base to save his life because he was hitting everything so hard and was just getting caught. Now he didn't let that affect his eye. That's what they love about him most is his eye. And, he swings at pitches that he can drive. So I'm crossing my fingers that with Yastrzemski and Ruf heating up, and look, there's a giant problem when Evan Longoria has 5 hits and out of them 4 of them are singles and 1 of them's a double. Like in since he's come back, La Stella had the home run. He's slowly going to be coming along, but I'm hopeful that there's a little bit more punch to this lineup now than there was prior, because the thing that is missing from the lineup is the home runs. And we know how much the home run ball was such a big deal for them last year. Jock Peterson leads the team in home runs with 7, a lot of them solo home runs.
Yeah.
And after that, it's like Wilmer, Belt, Bart, they all have 4. Casale has 3, and he's not an everyday player. So he may be able to get some opportunities to hit a little bit more now that, I think it was probably like, 2 out of every 3 starts was Bart, and that may change. It may be 2 out of every 4. It may be 2 out of every 3 the other way. So I fully believe that they're going to find a way to keep scoring runs because that's just what they do. The hope is also now that if you're right about this, and Jeff Young about the FIP and, sort of some of these things should be evening out a little bit more. I do hope that is better. And look, I thought Logan Webb, we were kind of, whispering like, he's not kind of the same guy that he was at the end of last year. And then he started out the game on Sunday really rough. I think Blackman hit a home run to open the game. But then he went I think he retired 19 guys in a row.
Yeah.
Gave up a little blooper to, I think it was Connor Joe, and then they had to take him out, and then the bullpen kind of gave up the game there. So I'm comfortable with Webb, Rodon, Cobb, even though, like we said, he got bashed for 7 runs, he's still missing bats, which is awesome. He's just also getting a little bit too much of the plate in some instances. And I think, as his strikeout to innings pitched ratio is really good. He's second, because we always hear about Rodon. Rodon's 12.5 strikeouts per 9, and Alex Cobb is 11.2.
Wow.
Wood is actually 9.4. Logan Webb is only 6.3. So that's something to kind of circle and wonder about throughout the season. Here's, we did this segment a couple of different times, and I'll just bring it up here now. In the Are You Worried Yet? Camilo Duvall. Now, if you look at the back of the baseball card stats,
yeah,
he looks okay.
Mm-hmm.
2.7 ERA, 16.2 innings pitched, 22 strikeouts. But when I dig a little bit deeper, he's walking 5 guys for every 9 innings pitched. So what that means is if he's only going to pitch 1 inning, every 1 inning, he walks half of a guy or a little bit more than half of a guy.
Right.
So every other time he comes into the game, he's walking somebody. Now the strikeouts, because he is second to Rodon and strikeouts K per 9. He's going to miss bats and that's great. But I started to see there was the I think it was the Wednesday game against Colorado where he comes in to shut the door and he walks 2 guys. And then they got to kind of do this dance of like, oh my gosh, are we going to give it up in Colorado again? Got out of it, thankfully. But then in that Friday night game, Giants come all the way back to tie. And immediately, we're in the extra inning. So you put the runner on second. Machado hits one off the wall. Then there's a line drive back up the middle, another score. So he gives up 2 runs and they only get 1 back. And so, he's technically the losing pitcher. So all that being said, we know that he's still young, 24, second year in the bigs. Are you worried about Camilo Duvall yet?
I'm not worried about him yet because he's, like you said, he's still growing, right? I mean, he's still growing. So we saw him ice in his veins end of the season last year. Saw him in the playoffs, did a fantastic job. One bad pitch to Cody Bellinger. Other than that, in the playoffs, he looks stellar. I'm not worried about him. I think he's still getting seasoned. I kind of miss Mac Cheese at this point in the back end of that bullpen. It's nice to have a lefty security blanket when you need him. I want to take a look, as a matter of fact, at Mac Cheese's numbers after this, because I know he's been pitching pretty well in AAA in his rehab assignment. So maybe I was hoping we would see him back for the Mets series, because the Mets do have some good left-handed bats. It would be nice to see Mac Cheese get in there, because he was pumping, I think, 93 to 96 in AAA the other day. He struck out 3 batters and he faced 3 batters, struck out 3 batters. I'm not worried about Duvall yet. I'm about 75% confident, 25% not confident. I think I want to see a little bit more from him. He's not an emotional guy, so it's not like I'm saying I want to see him go out there and get fired up and strike somebody out and pump his fist or do any of that stuff. I want to see more attacking the zone. I just want to see him attack the zone. I think batters are starting to kind of sit on that slider on the first pitch, and I think that's a bit of a problem. I think if he can go 50-50 on his first pitch, you don't know if he's throwing a fastball or a slider, you're kind of back on your heels a little bit, because you don't know if he's going to pump 101 at you with a fastball up in the zone or down in the knees. I think if you're sitting there and you've watched his slider over and over again on video, and then you go up there and you think first pitch slider, I mean, he's getting raked when that happens, but he's also just not attacking the zone like he did last year. And I think I definitely want to see more of that.
I think what you said about Mac Cheese is right on, because the thing about having him as the closer, Duvall as the closer, is we have a spare safety key, that we can pull with Mac Cheese, with Tyler Rogers, if for some reason, Duvall goes through some struggles. But with McGee out and also not pitching well when he was here.
Yeah.
And Tyler Rogers, it's very early for him. And I think by the end of the season, his numbers will even out. But, some hard hit balls coming off of the bat against him, which we didn't see a lot of last year. His numbers still look okay. It's just kind of the eye test for me is like, this dude almost got his head taken off like 2 times recently.
Yeah.
And he's also not striking anybody out. So, those are to be concerned about. Like, I thought, okay, could it be Brebbia? Who's going to be the one to kind of step up? Could it be Leon? They're both pitching fairly well, even though it seemed like Brebbia, got hit a little bit. His numbers are excellent. So I think the bullpen, if the one there's one guy in the pen who's, or I guess you would say a couple guys in the pen who are kind of leaky. It's Alvarez. I know he gave up a bomb the other day, which is like the first time he's given up a bomb in forever. I think that was the Colorado game that we lost. Littell, he's not throwing well at all. He's getting beat up. But other than that, it's like they're okay. The bullpen looks solid. It's just it just doesn't feel that way, because it seems like these games are all super close and we're stretching the bullpen out, but that's kind of the way that they built this team. So that's how this season is going to be.
Well, and when you look in the minors too of who the Giants have down there, they still have Junior Marte that can come back up. Raynel Espinal came up for a little bit. Yovera, Jake McGee.
And Yovera threw well. Marte not so much. He got beat up a little bit, but
but still a live arm. Gregory Santos, another live arm.
Yeah.
The Giants do have some live arms. Kervin Castro, and looking at Jake McGee's numbers, he's pitched in only 2 games since he's been down there in the rehab assignment. 2 innings, 5 strikeouts. So he struck out 5 of the 6 batters that he's faced, and not.
When Jelly went back down, he gave up like 7 runs in both
Oh,
starts of his next start
Yeah.
or something like that.
But yeah, he caught whatever Elio Ramos caught. You
Yeah.
know, it's you come up, you get a taste of the bigs, you really enjoy it, you're loving life, and then you get sent back down, and you're just kind of toil in AAA. And
Yeah.
speaking of Ramos, God, what is he hitting? 181 right now.
I think he's
Just-
he'd started to do some things, but yeah, I mean
Yeah.
it's that all those teams are about 500 except for our San Jose Giants. They're pounding them out, man. That's
Yeah.
that's the jewel of the farm system, I think.
Yeah,
that team.
exactly. And we have it in our own backyard, or you do at least.
Yeah.
Right?
I know I haven't been to
Yeah.
a game yet, but soon I need to go.
Yeah.
Unfortunately, Bednar two starts in a row where he was not great.
Yeah.
Okay, so before we get to the next thing, which is I want to have a quick discussion on Juan Soto. I
Mhm.
say quick because there's no way Nationals are going to trade him. But I
Yeah.
just kind of like the idea of him being possibly available to the Giants down the line, even if it is not soon.
Yeah.
But before we do that, I wanted to show my drink. So
yeah, before it's gone.
before it's gone, I know it's like it's a little warm, and so I'm like drinking so fast because it's warm in this room. But okay, so went to the store and I saw this. The
There you
Bullet
go.
Crafted cocktails.
Yeah.
So I bought the old fashioned one, and you just pour it over ice, and it's like a drink size is like a shot and a half.
Yeah.
And I think there's supposed to be like 7 or 8 drinks in this thing or something and it was less than $20. I was like, wow, like how did they make money off of that when Bullet bourbon is like $30 for probably 15 or 20 shots. I don't know. Whatever, but I thought it was interesting and I love trying stuff and it's pretty good. Like I'm not the thing that I have to fight is I can even though it says there's only 2 carbs, there's some sugar in this thing.
Yeah.
With the bitters and all that stuff. But it's also just for my taste buds, it's a little sweet. So I have to kind of water it down a little bit or else I'm just going like, oh my gosh, it feels like I'm drinking like candy. But no, but it's kind of cool. Like, cause a lot of people are like, oh, I want to make mine. But other people are like, I'm so sick of making them. Just make them for me. I'll pour them over ice and then we're good. So yeah, they have another one, the Manhattan. I'm sure I'll try that one at some point, but this was nice. It was a fun little thing. I like that these companies are taking advantage of us during the pandemic of drinking more. And they're like, hey, let's keep them home.
I think, we were talking about it. So I'm going to Vegas in like 2 weeks or something like that.
Yeah. And I'm there this weekend.
And you're there this weekend. So we were talking about the fact that it's going to be hot. It's definitely going to be hot there, especially in June when I go. It's going to be hot there when you go this weekend. But that might be something good. I wonder if you can put that in the fridge, take that with you down there, throw it in the fridge. Are you flying? I'm sure you're flying.
Yeah,
probably.
flying.
Yeah. So we're driving down there. So I could throw one in the back of the car or pick one up when we get down there, throw it in the fridge.
That's a great idea.
Yeah. Just bring it down to the pool, stick it in, the coffee tumbler down at the pool, pour it in there, a couple ice cubes, and you're good to
That's
go.
a tremendous idea.
Yeah.
That's why they pay you the big bucks, man.
Oh, yeah. I haven't seen the check yet. I'm sure it's coming.
All right. What are you drinking?
All right. So I got the Zevia grapefruit. I forgot to bring it in. I forgot to bring in the bottle with me, though. But I got the Zevia grapefruit and I forgot a lime. See, this is what happens. The Giants make moves an hour before we go on the air. So I got grapefruit citrus Zevia, which of course has no sugar in it because that's just not what we do. And I do anyways on occasion. But and then the Terramana, I guess it's the Blanco, right? The white,
The silver,
yeah.
Yeah.
So the Terramana, the rocks tequila. When it gets warm, and man, it's like 82 in Reno today. When it gets warm, that's kind of the drink I go to.
Yeah.
I put the big ball ice cube in it and sip on that sucker for a little while. It's pretty refreshing. But I usually put a lime in it. Running around trying to get the cat out of the den while I'm closing the doors up too.
All right. So before we get to the Soto thing, let's get to our player of the week because I mean, I kind of talked about him a lot already, so we don't have to go too in depth. Why don't you just give us how the vote shook down?
Yeah, and we talked about two of the players on the poll this week. So we had third place Tyro Estrada, who we've talked about him, and is the silent killer out there. He's doing his job. 435 average, 459 WOBA, 2 runs, 2 ribs, a stolen base, only a 12% K rate. And these guys have all had over 20 at bats this week. When I pick the poll guys, unless it's a batter who's had like 10 or 12 at bats and he's hit like 4 or 5 home runs or done something tremendous, I won't put him on here. I kind of want a full week out of somebody. So Estrada came in third place with 13% of the vote. Second place, Darren Ruf, 33% of the vote, 333 average, 516 WOBA, 2 home runs, 8 runs, 7 RBIs, 27% walk rate. We talked about how his walks are going up, his average is going up. Everything that a Farhan Zaidi GM drools over, all of those numbers are going up. He came in second place with the vote. Baby Yaz, Mikey Stremski, the Yasmanian Devil, took first place, 53% of the vote, 474 average, 577 WOBA, home run, 6 runs, 5 RBIs, a very low 13% K rate, putting the bat on the ball, getting on base, creating runs, and it shows with that 577 WOBA, that weighted on base average. Just the Yasmanian Devil out there killing it for us this week. And with that mustache too. That thing is very pirate-esque. That is nice.
All right, so let's talk about, not going to go too in depth because this was more in the middle of last week when this came out, but Buster Olney wrote something to say, the Washington may have to think about trading Juan Soto possibly.
Yeah.
Ken Rosenthal then said, they can't. This would be like trading Ted Williams, before he hit his prime. And they're right. Like if you look at Juan Soto's numbers, he's one of the best baseball players, and he's only 23 years old. But it made you think, like, could the Giants be in on him if for whatever reason all of a sudden he's for trade? And when you look at the current prospects, the way that they work out, the first 2 off the table are Lucky Luciano and Kyle Harrison. Those are immediately off the table. See you guys later. You're on the Nationals. But they would probably have to toss in a couple of more guys. And I don't know if the Giants have that. Grant Brisbee wrote a great piece basically saying that, they don't really have the next pieces. They have the 2 pieces, which are great starting pieces, but they would need more. And some of that is because guys like Hunter Bishop, Patrick Bailey, Matos, they're not playing great. I think Matos is injured actually right now. But they haven't
a knee issue, right?
He's been out for a little while. Something with his leg for sure. But those guys aren't at the same level as they were, or at the same level as they should be, or the Giants expect them to. Now, there's a great piece on The Athletic today about Pat Burrell working out with Hunter Bishop and Patrick Bailey, and I think Jimmy Glowinski. I saw him at San Jose last year. And because they're all 3 of those guys are hitting under 200. And so they were talking about how Pat Burrell is holding onto their jersey while they're swinging and saying, like, this is how you stay back. Like, you guys are lunging too much. And so it's kind of cool. I love reading stuff like that because, just the science of hitting and such. But Juan Soto, if they put him out there, you basically got to say, pick your 5 guys, right? Like that's how the Giants would probably do this, because to be able to have Juan Soto at the age that he is now, because he became a major leaguer. Did he make the bigs as like a teenager?
Yeah, I believe he was 19.
His clock starts a lot earlier than most people his age. So his free agency is going to be up sooner than normal play, because like Hunter Bishop is already older than Juan Soto, and he's not even in the big leagues yet. So
just to frame it too, I believe if they traded for him, let's say the Giants traded for him today, he would be controllable for the rest of this season,
Mm-hmm.
all of 2023. He's
Yes.
arbitration year 3 next year. He's making 17.1 million this year on an arbitration deal. So he'd be controllable through the end of this year, 2023 and 2024, and become a free agent in 2025.
Yes. And it's still worth it. Like, you don't have him for 6 years, but he's not even reached his prime yet.
Yeah. Well, and the other key thing is, if the Giants were to get him, the Dodgers don't get him.
Yes.
Because the Dodgers are always in on the biggest free agent, the biggest trade piece. I mean, look at last year, Trey Turner and Max Scherzer. I mean, you talk about the two of the best players in baseball. They just went out and grabbed them because that's what they do.
And you know what's fascinating about the Trey Turner thing? They had the opportunity to possibly renew him, and they're like, we don't really have to. Like, we'll be in on whoever the next guy is. We'll be in on all.
Yeah.
And they may still sign him, right? But they had the opportunity to get it done before this season started, and they decided not to. And you mentioned him. So the other thing that I was going to say, let's say the Dodgers allow him to just go. Would he be somebody that you would hope the Giants would be in on and possibly in the race to get?
1,000%. I honestly think he's one of the top 5 players in the game. On base percentage, power, stolen base.
Yeah.
He can play on the infield. He can play in the outfield. He is like the quintessential Giants player. What Zaidi and Harris look for. So yes, I would be 1,000% in on Trey Turner. When the Dodgers got him, I think that hurt me personally more than Max Scherzer. Because I would say, Max Scherzer, great pitcher. That's fantastic. Pitches every 5th day. You could get into a game where, a situation where, okay, well, he's coming out of the bullpen against the Giants in Game 5 of the NLDS. But Trey Turner is 4 or 5 at bats a game, game changer, playmaker, just that guy who is pesky and makes great plays in the field too. He's an all-star. He's just a quintessential all-star.
You know what's crazy about the fact that they did not re-up him yet is they just lost Corey Seager.
Right. Yeah.
So it's not like they go, oh, we have a guy waiting. So if he leaves, then, this guy is going to be ready. Like,
but they have Gavin Lux though. But they have Gavin Lux. I mean, they have
Isn't he more of a second baseman though?
He is, but I think you could put him at short as well. I think he's played a little bit of short.
And I'm looking at the Dodgers prospect rankings. This is MLB.com's.
I was going to say,
rankings.
I'm proud to say I don't know much about the Dodgers.
Yeah, just the fact that they got the catcher who's one of the top prospects in all of baseball, but no shortstop guys, at least going down until number 10. Wilman Diaz, and he's only 18, so he wouldn't be somebody that they would bring up anytime soon. They got another guy, Jacob Amaya, who's in Double-A, but he's 23. He's only 19 on their list, so it doesn't look like anybody in their current farm system is on their next. Like we heard about Seager, years and years and years ago. That guy's not there, so I don't know. I don't know what the idea is behind that for them to just be like, no, we're cool right now. Maybe we'll, negotiate later, but we're good.
Lux did play 59 games at shortstop last year and has only played 2 this year at shortstop. So, I mean, the possibility is there. I think that, they have that flexibility. Do they want him to be their everyday shortstop? Probably not. But they're the Dodgers, so if they let Trey Turner walk, they could probably just say, "Let's go get Xander Bogaerts." I mean,
that's definitely on the table for sure.
That's exactly what they can do.
Mm-hmm.
And look at the Rangers too. The Rangers have Semien and Corey Seager. Well, Semien is just crap in the bed right now in Texas. He's sitting.
Simeon and Joey Bart are like texting back and forth.
Yeah. Well, and the Dodgers could probably make a simple deal for that and say, well, we'll eat that salary and we'll take Simeon, and he probably turn things around because the guy's a stud and he has a track record of it. Yeah. So they, they'll find a shortstop if they let Trey Turner walk. And if they let him walk, God, we really need to go after him because Brandon Crawford's on a 2-year deal.
Mm-hmm.
He's going to be 36 at the end of that deal at the end of next year. So yeah, I mean, got to fill that hole.
All right, let's move on to talk about the upcoming schedule. So the Mets come into town, and we have 3. Is it 3 with them?
Yes, 3 games, or possibly 4.
Let me look.
After this weekend, I didn't even want to look forward on the schedule. I was a little afraid to because I knew the Mets were coming into town. That's all I knew.
Yeah.
That's all I wanted to know.
Cobb goes tonight.
Yeah, so we got 3 games with the Mets, then day off Thursday, then off to Cincy for 3, off to Philly. There are very few 2-game series. I don't think you play 2-game series much if it's not against a National League West opponent anymore.
The series against Cincinnati probably cannot come sooner enough.
Yeah.
They are they still the worst team in baseball? I have the standings here.
Cincinnati. They went on a mini tear.
They actually had a good week, 6-4 week.
Did you see the time of the Sunday game while you're in Vegas?
No. It's early, right?
It's an 8:30 game.
Yeah. Somebody was telling me about that. I'm like, oh my God. You expect me to be awake by then?
Probably. I'll be awake for you.
So
that's a 3-day weekend, actually. Yeah. So
yeah, totally.
I'll be awake. Yeah.
Cincinnati, they went 6-4 over the last 10. They are 12-28. Washington has 14 wins. Kansas City has 14 wins. Detroit has 14 wins. And so they are the worst team in baseball.
Yeah.
Which means that doesn't mean much if the Giants lose 2 out of 3.
Yeah.
It only comes at the perfect time when you're like, gosh, we are hungry and we need to sweep these guys. Now, that's not to say that they're not going to hold court here against New York because New York is a really good team, but I have a feeling since that last series in New York where New York kind of made the Giants look bad, it wasn't fun at all watching those games. No Scherzer, he's out for a couple of months here, or about a month and a half, with that weird side thing that he had happen.
The oblique, where he all of a sudden kind of pointed to his side after a pitch and said, "Okay, I'm good, coming out."
Yeah, it was so weird. Is that kind of what happened to Mac Cheese?
Not in the middle of the game, not after throwing a pitch. I think his was just more kind of a mystery type of thing where miles per hour were down on the fastball. I don't know if anybody really saw anything.
I mean, it literally might be a made up injury just to get him on the DL.
It's possible. They should have waited till Sacramento traveled to Reno to do it because he's from Sparks and he could have slept in his own bed for 6 days, right? Because now these minor league series are 6 games.
So Pete Alonso, obviously he's got 10 jacks, 37 RBI for the Mets. And it's so funny because when you see these great teams, and I look at the stats, I'm like, oh my gosh, I'm ready to see like some crazy stats. But no, they don't even have a 300 hitter in their everyday lineup, unless I guess now their second baseman, since Cano's gone, I guess he technically counts, but no, he doesn't because he's McNeil's backup. So like they don't have a 300 hitter. Maybe McNeil. I guess McNeil is hitting 306. But it's just how everybody's lineup is, right? Like you're just like, oh, I expect to see these gaudy numbers from these great teams. And nope, Pete Alonso, 10 home runs, 37 RBI, 279, and a 349 on base. He's their big hitter. Even Lindor's only hitting 239. Marte is only hitting 270. He's only got 4 home runs. So even in the offensive struggles, the Mets are still playing really good baseball. And so who's throwing for the Mets today? It is I just had this and now I don't have it.
I think it's Peterson.
Yes, Peterson's throwing today. Do we know the rest of their rotation for this series?
I think they're
it's Bassett and then to be determined.
Yeah, I was going to say that they're to be determined. We have Junis on Wednesday and we got Webby tomorrow.
And Bassett's throwing excellent for them.
Mm-hmm.
Scherzer, of course, was their top dog, and he is not there. Carrasco is throwing pretty well. But yeah, this Peterson guy has he's only pitched in 3. He has let's see, 3 starts, and he's pitched well so far, 1.89 ERA. But he's thrown about 6 innings a start. So yeah, I think it's a good challenge for them. I want to see, when we were talking about this Padres thing, I was like, man, there was so many feelings going on with that Padres series. I want the Giants they're going to come in. Giants are going to stomp their chest in. They're going to, do everything they can to win these games. And then they didn't. And I was like, wow, I didn't expect it to happen that way. So I sort of feel the same way about the Mets. Like, oh, Mets are going to come in. We owe them. They made us look bad. And so maybe they were saving it for the Mets. But I really want to see them play really good baseball in these 3 games. I don't want to see, what happened yesterday where you're like, gosh, maybe they're not as good as we think, That's what those games make you feel.
I think what the Giants need to do to win this series is their fly ball to ground ball percentage has been creeping up the last week. So if they can keep the ball on the ground, again, we talked about it early, that's what the Giants did to build their pitching staff. Brought in pitchers who keep the ball on the ground and get strikeouts. They need to get back to that. Let the infield defense work, not so much the outfield defense. Keep the ball on the ground and score early. And when the Giants score a run in the first, 2 runs, in the second and whatnot, when they can go out to a 1-0, 2-0, 3-0 lead early in the game, that's their strength. When, you saw against the Padres, I'd be in one room putting some laundry away, and I'd come back over here, and I'd come back over, and all of a sudden the Padres have runners at the corners, and they're up 1-0, and I'm going, come on, man, because the Giants aren't that team that's built for the huge comebacks right now, because they just aren't. They don't have the strength of their lineup. I put together that chart. I don't know if you have it, but I'm going to look at it myself, but. Just the big guys who have missed games: Brandon Belt, Lamont Wade Jr., Evan Longoria, Tommy LaStella. All 4 of those guys were supposed to be in the starting lineup on opening day, and they just can't get healthy and back on the field and hitting. And so when you look at it, Brandon Belt has played in 65% of the Giants' 40 games. Lamont Wade Jr., 25%. Longoria, 25%. Tommy LaStella, 10%. So there it is. LaStella being back now, Longoria being back, Brandon Belt is hurt again, Lamont Wade Jr. is hurt again. That's just kind of, the Giants can't get that momentum going. Yes, they are scoring a lot of runs, but you'd like to see the consistency in Jock Peterson. I mean, his May. Remember, he came out in a tear, and we go, this is the greatest sign ever. We didn't need Castellanos. We could 1 year, $6 million on Jock Peterson. He hit 353 in April, then had the groin injury. So 353 in April with 6 home runs, 10 RBIs. And now in May, he's hitting 093 with 1 home run and 4 RBIs. He still has walked 7 times and struck out only 12 times in the entire month of May. But, guys like him need to get going. There needs to be that consistency, and it needs to be early. It can't be one of those things where all of a sudden in the 6th inning, when you're down 4-0 and you try to get a rally going and you score 1 run, and the next inning, maybe you score another, but then you give up another 1 or 2. The Giants just need to get back to pitching and keep the ball on the ground and get the strikeouts.
All right, so crossing my fingers for a really strong week. Now, I wonder how Kapler would feel about this, which is, Cincinnati is coming up. And now if you play good baseball, you probably win 2 out of 3 just because you're so much more talented than them.
Yeah.
But if you try so hard to win these 3 games against the Mets, maybe you empty the tank a little bit. You don't have a lot left for Cincinnati. I wonder how he manages this thing. But, I expect competitive games. I expect good baseball. I expect, some of these guys to turn it on, like we were saying, Yastrzemski and Ruf to keep hitting the baseball well. And I'm interested to see Cobb bounce back because I'm sure he sees the same things that we see, which is he's got some dominant innings, and then he's got just like one inning where he just leaves a hanger and it gets hit for a 3-run homer. So, this is a good team to show your stuff at. This is with the team he got injured against. Remember in New York where he pulled his hammy or whatever it was that he got hurt. So, all right.
Well,
go ahead.
But just to build on that, Kapler, the way you see it as him as a manager is every game is almost like a season. Let's just, first inning is the first month, second inning is the second month, keep building. And you're just playing within that season. I don't think he's thinking about tomorrow or the next day. Yes, you have to, when you talk about the bullpen, but you're not going to win. You're not going to win the series tonight against the Mets and Peterson. You just have to play this game and stay within yourself. He's not the type of manager, I think, where this is the type of team where he's going to empty the tank and it's not a playoff series. It's a one game at a time. Let's just keep going. It's May, got a lot of season left.
Yep. All right, next week we will be back on Tuesday instead of Monday because of the holiday. Also, there have been a bunch of death lineup shows because the Warriors in the playoffs. We did not record after last night. We had to miss one game, but we'll be back Tuesday. And then if need be, Thursday. The Warriors could end it by winning Tuesday. We also just put up the audio version of the Red and Gold Standard. So Zach and Matt are back talking about Trey Lance and why the media is down on young Trey Lance and other things, everything going on with the 49ers right now. So that is up. And so Brad and I will be back on Tuesday. You'll have at least one more death lineup between then. And so this feed is very active. If you are listening on podcasts, we appreciate it. Throw us a little love there with the 5-star review. If you are watching us, go to the YouTube channel, subscribe. That helps us get into their YouTube algorithm a little bit more. All the Facebook stuff is great. Our BSPN Facebook page is popping. A lot of subscriptions on there, so it's awesome. A lot of follows, so it's been great. Okay, so for Brad, I am Double G. We will see you when we see you. Peace out.
Peace.